Good morning and happy Sunday. My name is Sanjay and I am the founder of Smart Money IQ. This will be my very first publicly released video on YouTube. Very excited and kind of nervous at the same time. I told myself, regardless of how I feel about it, I will release it. So please be kind. And sometimes perfect or perfection is the enemy of good, and other times good enough is just good enough. So we'll go with that. I'm not going to turn on my camera at this time for the first few videos to avoid any distractions. It's going to take me a little while to get used to this. I feel like it's the first time I'm placing an options trade on a screen, maybe back in 1999, 2000, when we were trading electronically and getting away from trading over the phone. Didn't know where the buttons were, wasn't sure where the call to open, buy to open, sell to close, and all that nonsense was. And realistically, I was like, what the hell am I looking at here? Anyways, I feel the same way with YouTube and all the different applications that it takes to make videos and screen share and all that fun stuff. And you can probably understand how scary and stressful this could be. But I'm going to get through it. We're going to get through it, and we'll both be better for it. A quick disclaimer: this is not financial advice. I am not your advisor. I'm here to share my experience, opinions, and my thoughts. I'm a student of the game, a lifelong student of the game, and I hope to share this experience with you, my failures, my successes, and hopefully you can learn from my mistakes and take the benefit of things that have worked for me and that may have worked for you. And I'd love to hear from you what's worked for you. And if you're at some point willing to share with the rest of the community, I'd love to hear from you. Okay, so with that out of the way, let's talk about the market as a whole. The market sold off quite a bit from the highs in October, November, and I feel like we've had a secular sell-off and bear market in many different areas, tech being one of them, the Mag 7, as well as the software stocks, the SaaS stocks. People are going to blame AI, this, that, and the other, but sometimes the markets just have to reset. If you've been following my newsletter, which I do have a link in the description below, if you're not a member already, go ahead and click on that button. I've been mentioning that I was expecting a sell off sometime in the first quarter, maybe into the middle of the year, anywhere from 5 to 10%, maybe not, maybe more. However, these things do happen periodically, and the market can't continue to go up in a straight line, although we wish it would. With that being said, these times are quite scary. And what's happening out in the Middle East is definitely dictating the market, along with inflation and other things that are very, very scary to most. But for some of you long-term holders, these are good time to pick up some quality stocks. And for you individuals like to trade a little bit more, you may want to add a little bit of size if you're long, and if you're thinking about being long, maybe you can sell a put. And we'll talk about that more here in a second. Friday, interesting. It was quad witching, which is expiration of a lot of different options. But at the same time, it was the largest from a volume standpoint of options expiration historically. So if you were trading options on Friday when closing your positions, well, you're part of history. The notional value was the largest it's ever been. Again, this doesn't mean anything at this point. It just means that the market makers, institutions are going to be repositioning this week, and the market can go either way. The Nasdaq, or QQQ, tends to be, it looks a little bit stronger and a little bit more divergent to the SPY, or the S&P 500, which looks like it may continue to go down. Realistically, I think both can still continue to go down, and hopefully on Monday we get a gap down, close the gap, and then move higher. Not sure which scenario is going to work out. It could open higher, gap up, and then sell off and continue to test lower lows on SPY, which is S&P 500, QQQ, and of course the Dow Jones. Okay, so what I want to talk about today is actually the trade setups, and I'm using a small account here, and I use this account to teach my niece and nephew about investing. They're too young to actually do it themselves, but we like to talk about it. And so the trade setup for this week, and first of all, I will show you that I own 100 shares in this account, a little over 100 shares of TQQ, allowing me to trade one options contract. Now, I went ahead and sold the April 2nd 48 calls against my position. I think it was Thursday or Friday. I think it was Thursday, actually. And I sold it for $1.24. Now, that is called a covered call. I went ahead and sold it. And the goal is, while I'm waiting for this to either go up to 48 or sell off, I'm going to go ahead and earn $1.24. You can call it a dividend if you want. It's just $1.24. You can see now, as of Friday's close, it's already trading down to 61 by 70. Let's just go with the ask price, which is 70 cents. I've already made approximately half, or somewhere close to half of my money. And depending on how the market opens on Monday and moves this week, this could degrade to almost 10 cents or even by Friday zero. However, if TQQ goes to 48, which I will refer to TQQ as TQ moving forward, then I will get called away and I'll get the difference between whatever the purchase price is and that price, which is actually negative because I actually sold it below my purchase price, but that's okay. My goal is to earn this income, not necessarily break even on each week and each trade. The goal is to keep earning income, rinse and repeat. And as I build and have more dollars in the account, is to buy more shares. And that's how I accumulated these 7 shares and got over 100. The goal is to keep building this position over months, days, and years moving forward. Now let me get to the setup of what I'm looking at for this upcoming week. I'm going to blow up this chart, and I normally use a 130-minute chart, and I mark my resistance and swing lows and swing highs. However, the last time we were this low was way back in, looks like sometime, I'm not sure where it is. Let's see, what's the date on this? At any rate, whatever the date is, there it is, there it is. September 5th. So I go back quite a bit. And so the lower levels I'm looking at are 42.13 is my first support. Then moving down to approximately 40.93, which is this green line here. And then hoping it doesn't get down to 38.53, although my gut instinct says it probably will flush out down as close to 38.53 as possible. And hopefully we'll get some good news out of the Middle East and it'll bounce back and, maybe buyers will come in. The other thing I'm looking at is the stochastics. They are way off. And if you look back, you can kind of pinpoint where the sell-off started way back here. And they're not correlated exactly, but you kind of get the picture. The red one just kind of moved lower as the stock moved lower as well. So that's what I'm looking at. Going back to my position, I will do a recap later in the week, depending on what happens. It may be Wednesday night, maybe Thursday night, and it may even be Friday morning. It really depends on how the market reacts this week. But I do want to give you a chance to see how this trade transpires, and we can build on it as a learning process as we go through this together. Now, I do have other accounts that are much larger, but for all intents and purposes, at this point, working with 100 shares is easy to talk about. And if you saw my other positions, then the whole screen is full of different things, and that could be a little bit confusing and distracting. Now, before I end, something you may notice on the screen, I do own BMNR, that's Boy, Mary, Nancy, Roger, Bitminer. And it's not a stock and it's not an ETF. It's actually a digital asset treasury, fairly new, very similar to Master, MSTR, or sorry, Micro, MicroStrategy, or strategies are called now. And it's basically a stock that buys Ethereum, ETH, which is a crypto, and then takes the crypto, stakes it, and does other things with those dollars. We'll talk more about it in the future, but since it's on my screen, you may have a question about it. I think it's a good thing to look at. I'm not advising that you buy it or you sell it, but I am advising that you take a few minutes of your time and learn more about ETH, Ethereum, crypto, BMNR, and how it's going to possibly shape our future. So, with that, I will leave you. And before I let you go, I wanted to wish you a very, very happy Monday. Good luck next week. Also, there's a link for my free newsletter in the description. And I would love to hear some comments if you liked what you heard. Maybe you can learn from it. And if you got some advice how to make it better, great. If this is something you've done before and maybe you're an expert at it. Also, feel free to hit the like button. And if nothing else, tell me where you're watching from. I'm very curious where and how far the YouTube reach is. So, again, good luck, and I'll talk to you in the next video.